Hey everyone, it's Jen with Spirited Saturdays, and this week we're continuing our rotation on peace, and we're talking about integrating peace into the recovery process. Just so you know, I'm going to be referencing Teal Scott and Pema Chodron throughout this video. Integrating peace into recovery, I have found, is such a crucial as well as beautiful part of the recovery process. And when you recover from an eating disorder, you'll be facing things that you may have been using the eating disorder to cope with. And so a big part of recovery is being able to work through the pain that underlies an eating disorder. You can experience a recovery that is so true to yourself, that is so genuinely yours, that you get to really write and make your own. And you can make recovery a truly enriching experience if you remain honest with yourself and continue to face feelings that come up. And so the point of this video is to address getting through those hard feelings in the present as they arise with the use of peace, compassion, nurturance, and faith and/or life philosophies. So the eating disorder was a process of breaking down, and recovery is a process of building up. Both hurt. Growing pains are real. Remember that there is a difference between pain and suffering. Suffering is the attachment that we give to pain. So pain all by itself doesn't have to be a bad thing, but we associate it with negativity when we assign suffering to its otherwise natural process. Think about the ways that you can redirect your pain. Instead of going down the road of suffering, going down the road of gratitude, compassion, and love. And think about everything that the struggle gave you. Think about your evolved perspective for having gone through it and continuing to go through it. Think about the people in your life that you've connected to. Think about everything that you do have. Think about everything you've learned, about the empathy you've developed, about the things you've learned about yourself that you wouldn't have known if it weren't for the struggle. The struggle highlighted really important parts of yourself that needed to come into light. So honor those and practice gratitude for them, and work with them now that you have them and that you can see them. It's the attachments that we assign to things that create suffering. It's how we build these attachments up in our head. Suffering happens when we berate ourselves for having pain or feel guilty or assign false beliefs to a situation. Suffering happens when we resist the flow of pain. And the pain can stab, but we can make peace when we observe and describe the feeling. And we can ask, what does this say about my process? Is it hurting in a way or in an area that tells me that I have unreleased anger, unreleased sadness, unprocessed fear? And then, accordingly, work through. Take action. You've allowed the feelings to come up because they have to be worked through. So they're telling you, by virtue of their presence, by virtue of your ability to now experience them, they're telling you, work with me. And we can use the intensity of pain to our benefit. We don't need to stay there. We need simply to recognize it and work with it and know that we can and that we're not stuck in it. And it doesn't have to have this kind of hold over us. And we can choose to mold it to our benefit. Pain is often the precursor to breakthrough if we just allow it. And by allowing ourselves to face and be with what comes up, and by not resisting it, we end up allowing the creation of a self-directed path that's in line with what we truly want and need. We end up allowing that just by virtue of not resisting. Again, Teal Scott, huge. So I'm going to suggest some ways to aid the flow of pain and find peace within it. Tell yourself that you aren't alone and really believe and validate it. Think of specific people who you know understand you. Think of the spirit if that helps. Remember that other people understand you, people you know, people you don't know, people who are going through it, people who have been through it. I personally rely on the understanding of people as well as my spiritual beliefs. I feel that I am understood spiritually on a whole other level, and I remember that there's a huge perspective to be gained on a much broader level if I remain open to it, and this can be very rewarding. You can always find blogs and videos that will help ingrain and validate your sense of being surrounded by understanding, and hopefully let you breathe easier and just breathe into that moment. Another thing that you can try to do, and speaking of breathing, is breath meditation, breathing mantras, breathing in peace, breathing out gratitude, or exhaling release and inhaling renewal, and that kind of thing. Also, journaling. Getting out my feelings and thoughts in the moment really helps me process, get a handle on, and thoroughly understand and release the feeling, or at least begin to release it. Creative expression, whatever that means for you, any artistic outlet. Community. Putting your focus into something that requires patient and slow care. A Zen practice, yoga, something that requires Zen-like attention to detail. Knitting, for example, or creating something from scratch, or some kind of herbs, or maybe making tea from scratch, things like that. Reality checks. I am truly better off in recovery because the eating disorder took XYZ from me, as an example. A stroll in nature. As I said before, Reiki, or sending light or energy to yourself. Prayer, asking others to send light or prayers to you. These are some ways that we can practice acceptance of the pain while in the pain, like really being there and experiencing it as the feeling that it is. Acceptance. So remember that there is no in-between. You're not simply in between the eating disorder and wellness. Where you are right now is a real and worthy and honorable part of the process. Transition is home right now. You're not in between anything. You're in an extremely rich place from which to learn, to extract. You're digging gold mines right now, and you can't get the gold without the digging. You are, in a sense, truly, truly becoming who you are. You're not on pause. You're not in limbo. You are fully present and fully living and fully learning, and this moment is immensely rich and valuable. Another kind of acceptance is pure acceptance that this moment is a point on the journey. And so saying to yourself, it is where I am meant to be right now in order for me to fully reap the benefits of this journey. And it is not where I am meant to stay, and it is not where I want to stay. It's serving the purpose of getting me to the next point. But it is its own moment in its own right. So don't see it as this isn't where I want to be, because that would be resisting it. See it instead as, if I let this be and release resistance to it, I will move forward healthfully and get to where I would like to be. That knowledge of where we are and that acceptance of where we are, all by itself, can begin to open the door to being where we want to be, or being closer to where we want to be. When an uncomfortable feeling arises, you can allow it to exist in its state without judging it. I find that most of my additional discomfort is a result of thoughts that I place on top of the core discomfort. So if I simply say, I am in this space right now, and don't say, this sucks, or this must mean this, or berate myself for it, I am allowing it to transform into something else. I am allowing other things to come in and, redirect it. I'm leaving myself much more open to the opportunity of something else coming in and transforming it than I would be if I were maintaining a tight grip on it. Energy is fluid, and this moment passes. But you don't have to try to make yourself believe that it passes if you don't believe that in the moment. What you can do is simply put your trust in the fact that energy is fluid. If you can believe that, then that's all, believe what you already know. Just remind yourself of that. It doesn't take any proof for you to know facts that you already believe. So, and your facts may not be someone else's facts, but if they're true to you and it doesn't take any effort, then that is what you have. And that's what you can work with. So if you believe energy is fluid, you don't even have to make anything of it. You don't even have to say, well, in that case, this will pass. Just the knowledge that it is fluid. Just the knowledge that what you're feeling right now and whatever this feeling is made of is inherently fluid is all you need to do. That will decrease resistance. That will, in a sense, allow you to move forward. But that's not what you have to concern yourself with. Just right now, what do I know? I know that energy is fluid. That's all I have to ask of myself. Okay, so something like that may help you if you're really feeling stuck and not particularly willing, which don't judge that. We all go through periods of not feeling willing. It's natural, it happens, but we have to allow ourselves to feel what we are capable of feeling. We have to allow ourselves to acknowledge what we are capable of acknowledging and recognize our limits. When we recognize them, they will expand. Accept that the only way to learn about pain is to live through it. There was life before pain, there will be life after pain, and there is also life during pain. Pain is a laboratory for digging and extracting those lessons which will help us in the long run. We dig a little deeper and come out a little stronger. Pain is a necessary and often short-term price to pay for an enriched, expansive, long-term life that follows it. Find peace in the progress that you've made so far. Pema Chodron has a quote that says, if you sat with the hot loneliness for 1.6 seconds today and you couldn't even sit with it for 1 second yesterday, that is the way of the warrior. As I said earlier, remember that growing pains are real. When you have them, understand that they are part of a fuller picture that you can't see from where you stand. If it helps, try envisioning what that picture might look like for you. Try envisioning the point at which the eating disorder stunted everything, and envision that being carried through and experienced to the fullest. Imagine your inner child being happy and satisfied and complete. You can do this from where you sit without expecting too much of yourself and without forcing yourself to believe what you're not ready to believe. Another way to make peace with the moment and with the pain is to first state a mantra, even if you don't believe it. And the idea then is to allow it to take hold with enough repetition and assertion, and allow it to integrate over time. The more you say the mantras, the greater your chances of believing them. And sometimes even that happens even quicker than you thought it would. The beauty about peace in the moment is that it's adaptable based on your desire of it. You can create that desire, and you can act according to that desire, and you can really pave a pathway from being inside the pain to transforming the pain. And this might come in bouts at first, but it's more in our power than we realize. We don't have to wait a specified amount of time. We get to direct it. Don't compare your recovery, for example, to anyone else's. Don't think that there's a prescribed amount of time to be in some phase of horrible pain. The truth is that you can be in pain. You can both be in pain and be in peace. And the truth is that you have the power to cultivate that within yourself and become free. The truth is, you are free right now, and making peace will allow you to realize that. And therein lies the freedom. Be gentle and patient with yourself and with the process. Treat yourself like you would an innocent little child, your inner child. And remember that you are that child. That child is you, and you deserve every bit of that nurturance and gentleness every day. Be gentle and patient with yourself and with the process. Treat yourself like you would an innocent little child. And remember that you are that child. That child is you. And you deserve every bit of that nurturance and gentleness. Thank you so much, and see you next week.